Antlers is directed by Scott Cooper and stars Kerry Russell, Jesse Plemons, and among others. And in this story, going from if you've seen from the trailers, it deals with a boy that is essentially taking care of this creature. Let's just leave it at that. That is essentially a deer, and it comes from a legend that's called the Wendigo. Uh, and as the film goes along, it starts to essentially have this kind of it has basically this kind of story that deals where this boy is taking care of his father that's slowly turned into a deer, and it unleashes hell as the movie goes along. Now, here's a little backstory. Now, this is a film that I've actually been looking forward to for quite a while, ever since I heard announced it a couple years ago when it was supposed to originally come out. And this was, yet again, another film that got delayed by so many times. And essentially, they ended up having backtracking it for so many dates ever since the pandemic happened. And it was directed by Scott Cooper, who I've actually come to enjoy as a director. He's made some great movies that I've really enjoyed, including Out of the Furnace. I did like that one movie he did called Hostiles, but I just thought I had some issues with it. But there's been some other ones too that I've been meaning to check out, like Crazy Heart that he did. But I really liked Out of the Furnace and Black Mass. And when I was first hearing about him doing a horror film, it got me really interested, seeing how he's never really touched on that kind of genre before. And the premise of them pretty much doing a killer deer type of movie really got me interested with that concept too. And after upon finally seeing the film, I can honestly say that while it is definitely a good movie, it did feel like it lacks some certain things that it was kind of holding it back from being great than what we were really expecting for as far as the premise that it takes a lot with. But to get my pros out of the way, I'll say that Kerry Russell I thought was really great in this. I really liked her as an actress, and I really enjoyed her, taking in this kind of role where she's playing the teacher of this boy, and and trying to find out what's going on with this boy's life and everything. And what I really appreciated was that they really give like some good layers to her character that really enapses the way the story unfolds, because we start to find out more about her past and everything that goes along. And you can really feel the way that it goes along with the story, with her trying to to cope with this boy, as she really feels like something is really unnerving that's happening, that she wants to take care of them and see how everything's going. And I also got to enjoy the rest of the cast too. I've come to enjoy Jesse Plemons in a lot of roles, and ever since I see him in Breaking Bad and in other stuff, including Fargo, the TV series, I've really liked him as an actor, and I think that he's really becoming very up there as as an up and coming guy that's really taken some great roles. And in fact, he's been the go-to with a lot of Scott Cooper's movies since he started in Black Mass, and he was also in Hostiles. And so I thought he was great. There were some things about his character that him along with some of the other characters, they could have fleshed out some more things with, but I still liked his performance. And even the boy that plays the lead kid in the movie, I thought he was great too, and I thought he was really carried his own a lot, especially with a lot of the way he has to go through all the stuff that's dealing with this entity that he's dealing with. But to get my other pros of the way, one of the other things I will say too is I really like how grounded this really feels, where it's set in a small town in Oregon. And you could tell it feels like one of Scott Cooper's movies, because it feels very, bleak, very kind of depressing feel to it. And you could tell from also some of the musical cues that he selects from the composer of this, because it does sound very reminiscent of the score from Black Mass, but also if it was more in like a more sounding horror film. It has a very somber tone that really fits the mood. And that is something I can at least appreciate, that fact that we don't really see too often with horror films that take a more dramatic type of feel to it, that make it feel very, feel like a very depressing type of mood. So that's one of the things I really did enjoy about this, the atmosphere that they create this in. And one of the other things I enjoyed about the story was how we get to hear more about this creature that's going along with it. They set up something very interesting that I thought was pretty unique. But I'll get to some of my cons later, because it's not fully explored more, along with some of the other things that they bring into, like the themes of that this movie has to deal with a lot of the themes of abuse. And I appreciated that the movie was trying to tackle some very serious stuff that added a lot of layers to the story that was pretty kept me invested with that, and it really made me really feel for the characters. Now, I will also say too that much like I'm going into what I was expecting, when they get to see some of the stuff that the creature does, they don't hold back, and they do show some pretty fucking graphic shit in this movie. I couldn't believe they got away with. Now some of them are a couple of scenes that are not, they don't go into too much detail, but when they show the aftermath of what happens with the creature, I was like watching them. It was almost like I was watching the scenes that remind me of Seven, with how the police come in and where they're observing the bodies and everything. I thought a lot of the practicals they do with a lot of the effects, I think, really worked. And as far as I could tell, the actual design of the creature itself and everything, it looked very practical, and I heard that they really stuck with that a lot. And if there was some CGI, it was blended very well to where it looked unique. And it's definitely one of the most menacing looking things I've seen in a while in a horror movie like this. Now, here's where I kind of lead into some of my cons. And as much as I really enjoyed where the story was going and everything, and I like the themes that they surround with the characters and a lot of the way that it parallels with the overall arc of the overall main arc, the overall main story, I did feel like it wasn't explored enough to where we were really getting much of where this creature really comes from and everything. Because I'm not going to go into detail, but some of the things that they set up with it seems like they really couldn't. They could have put more emphasis on and shown us more of where this creature actually came from, and they also touch base on certain things that involve with Jesse Plemons' character and Kerry Russell's character that it is explored, but not to the extent they set it up with it, because it almost seems like they were focused on other things while trying to blend it in with a lot of the backstory that was involved with their characters. And I think that it really could have been good if the movie maybe would have ran longer to really give us more of the insight to where we were seeing more of what happened and we get to reveal more of their past. And so and also they do bring in some they also have some pretty stupid decisions that are kind of noticeable in these kind of horror films, where characters would be going off of their own, and it obviously looks like something's going to happen, because if it looks suspicious, these are the typical dumb characters that they end up going to anyway. Now, there are some exceptions, I will say, that was kind of cool, where they actually broke some of the cliches in a couple moments that I thought was unique, where one character doesn't actually go into a house and everything, and I thought that was actually pretty smart from the way that they played it out. But then you would have other characters that would try to fall for that trick, and it just felt very, it felt very inconsistent with that. It really felt like they should really just get rid of these whole cliches altogether, because I get that's the way to advance the plot, but they could have spent more time of also really making it to where they could have explored other things and make it to where it felt a little bit more grounded than what it should have been. And one of my other biggest things I will say that the film kind of lacked was, while there is a good climax that takes place toward the end of it, it did feel like it was a bit rushed. We could have had more of an epic battle that went on that felt like it was kind of, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but it really felt like the stakes were a little lower than what I was thinking it was going to be at. So that was one of the things I will say that kind of really hit it back from being overall great. But I still thought it was a good movie. This is definitely a good film that I was glad to see, especially during the holiday season of Halloween. And with it being Halloween and all, I do want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. And with that being said, I'm going to give the movie a compelling grade on the Film Freaks meter. So, for those of you who have also seen Antlers, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thanks so much for watching. And stay safe, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.